I'm glad you guys are joining us today. My name's Steve Bentley. I'm one of the pastors at the Bridge. I've got a chest cold if you can't hear it. How many people were here and heard Nick last week? Yes, I appreciate Nick. Give Nick a hand. I appreciate him sharing. I was listening to his message, and I caught one main point in there, and he said that families are fertilizer. You guys ever felt like that? Your family's fertilizer? So we're in this series on family and on family relationships and digging into it. And Nick kicked off last week talking about fathers, and he did a good job there. I think it was just powerful. And I love one of the things he pointed out. He was talking about even it's kind of like even the government. I don't know about you guys, but the government seems like they're a little slow on the uptake sometimes. He's like, even the government's recognizing this, and they're putting out stuff. They're recognizing economically, it's a lot better to have dads involved. It makes a difference. It actually helps our economy. It actually helps things. It lowers crime and all kinds of cool stuff. So it was pretty neat. He had a lot of good stuff to say there. Well, today we're continuing this family relationships, and we're looking at mother. And I was trying to find a good video for that. And anybody know the Me Mudder poem? Anybody ever heard that poem? Me Mudder. And I was trying to find a good video for that, and I couldn't find it. So you guys have to look it up, Google it yourself. You can find it on video, Me Mudder. And I'm not going to say it. I don't know it well enough. I know in my life, looking at this mother relationship, looking at my mom, and it was the first woman I ever tortured in my life. Fortunately now I'm married. If my wife says anything to my mom about complaining, she's like, "Hey, you married him." It's not my problem now. But my mom, I look back on that relationship, and it was my first significant relationship in my life. It was the most intimate, the most important, the greatest influence in my life. I look back at a lot of life lessons, and I go back and I look, and I can trace them back to things my mom taught me, things my mom said to me, things that I wasn't even really conscious about. And it wasn't until I started digging, I'm like, oh, I learned that first from mom. And I go back and look at that relationship, and I think a lot of us, our mom has played a huge role in our life. You think about what role has mom played in your life, and as mothers, what role are you playing? What that role of influence in the life of your kids as a mother. And I forgot, I was supposed to mention, it's Valentine's Day. I just want to put that out there in case you forgot. You can pretend now that you knew all along. The dollar store is right down here after service. You can run down and get a gift real quick, and I've had this for weeks. I've been waiting to give it to you. So anyway, just want to put that out there for you. Just it was a public service announcement. It is Valentine's Day. So, but anyway, going back to looking at our mothers, all the way from birth to feeding us to cleaning up after us. Our mothers have a very intimate role in the early years of our life. It's a really powerful thing. It's something that's it's significant. And so we're going to dig into that today. We're going to look at some scriptures that are talking about that, going all the way back to the beginning, and just kind of look at this relationship of mother and what it's about, and what a big role that is in our lives. And we go back and we look in Genesis chapter 3, verse 20. In the very beginning, it says, "Then the man Adam named his wife Eve because she would be the mother of all who live." And so you go back to the very beginning. It's a recognition of the mother as a special role. It was a big deal. She is the mother, and this is a recognition that the mother carries a baby for the most fragile time of its development. You just think about that 9 months. How many mothers are there in here? Now I got to tell you, mothers, we really wanted to have a mother come up and give this sermon. And if you complain about my sermon, you'll be preaching next. We really wanted a mom's perspective on this, and we just couldn't line it up. We couldn't make it work. And in the future, we'll try that again. There's been a couple of times in the past where we've had moms give like Mother's Day sermons and different things like that, and I love that. I hate being up here trying to speak for a mother, because I don't have a clue. All I can talk about is what happened in my life and those things. But I know for my mother, from carrying the 4 of us kids and raising us up, I know that experience. I know my wife carrying our children. And, dads out there, you've seen that. And that first 9 months while they're in the womb, you just don't have much input, do you? It's like I'm kind of limited. Now, I'll tell you one thing I used to do is we had one kid especially that would kick a lot. I think it was Ezekiel. But we'd be getting ready to go to sleep, and I'd reach over and just kind of smack my wife on the belly and go, "Good night." That kid just be kicking. Yeah. Good times. Anyway. But this is that time is such a unique and intimate connection. As a father, as a man, I can't even really comprehend. I can't even get that. That is just such an experience. And that's how you start your relationship with your child as a mother. That is so powerful. It's so different. It's so unique. And then from there, it continues on. From providing sustenance to the baby in the first months and the first time of its life, you feed that baby. You're there for it. And that special bond is such a head start on dads. We're like, my kids, I'm still not sure if I like them. My wife has that, has that special bond. She has a head start on that relationship, that connection. And you look at that special bond continues, and it is a head start, and it's such a powerful thing. Those early years, that intimacy continues in all kinds of ways. And another scripture I want to share with you that's showing that influence that a mom has. If you heard of Timothy, the Apostle Paul was raising Timothy up as a leader in the church, and he wrote some letters to him. In 2 Timothy 1:5, he says, I remember your genuine faith, for you share the faith that first filled your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and I know that same faith continues strong in you. And you see there a product of the mother's taking care of a child through the early years. You see that he's pointing back to, he says, that faith that your mother had, that your grandmother had, that they put into you. And there's some theories and stuff about where Timothy's dad was and all that stuff or whatever. But that's kind of a reality level. Your mom is that first one. That first one as a child you're looking to. Eventually, you start looking at dad and things get weird. But dad, you guys ever seen the videos online, dads alone with their kids? If you watch it, it's hilarious. It starts with like little babies, and they're making funny faces and doing stuff, and it's just pretty neat. One guy's got the kid in a toy hooked up to his little truck that he drives around, and a radio-controlled truck, and he's towing the kid around the yard with it, and just the stuff that dads do. It's just a whole different thing. But it's just a squirrel moment, a little distracted. But you look at this with Timothy and the mother. And this is not trying to say the mother belongs in a home. We're not trying to say some of that negative stuff that everybody's like, this and that. It's not about trying to say where mom belongs. This is just trying to point out that relationship that a mother does have. A father's relationship is huge. It's important. Nick did a great job talking about that. A mother's relationship is so unique. And it's just the things that happen there, the intimacy, the closeness, the upbringing, the time that's there. From that very beginning, a mother is a tremendous influence in her child's life. As a father, that's a role you want to grow into, and you might make that happen. But that is something that's just so natural with the mother that gives birth to you, that feeds you, that's there for you. It's a great, powerful influencer. She guides her child in all kinds of foundational developments. A mother's a powerful relationship. An example I want to give you on this is in the Old Testament. And the Israelites were in captivity with the Egyptians, and they were enslaved. And there came a time where they were, the Egyptians were worried because they were growing in population. And so they made a rule, and they were killing all of the male babies. They're like, you can't have any more male babies. We're going to try and stop this. And so they started killing off these male babies for a period of time. And in that, this is where this picks up. It says Exodus chapter 2, 1 through 10. It says, about this time, when this is going on, a man and a woman from the tribe of Levi got married. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She saw that he was a special baby and kept him hidden for 3 months. She had to keep him hidden. He was a male boy. Kept him hidden for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a basket made of papyrus reeds and waterproofed it with tar and pitch. And she put the baby in the basket, laid it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile River. And then the baby's sister then stood at a distance, watching to see what would happen to him. And soon Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe in the river, and her attendants walked along the riverbank. When the princess saw the basket among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it for her. When the princess opened it, she saw the baby. The little boy was crying, and she felt sorry for him. This must be one of the Hebrew children, she said. Then the baby's sister approached the princess. Should I go and find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? Yes, do, the princess said. And so the girl went and called the baby's mother. Take this baby and nurse him for me, the princess told the baby's mother. I will pay you for your help. This is so sneaky. So the woman took her baby home and nursed him and got paid for it. How many moms would you love that? You get paid for taking care of your kids. You're like, wow, that would be really nice. So the woman took her baby home and nursed him. And later, when the baby was older, his mother brought him back to the Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her own son. And the princess named him Moses, for she explained, I lifted him out of the water. And you see here the hard choices that mothers have to make sometimes. You know, my biological dad left us when we were little kids, and I remember, you know, I don't know all the details of it, but I remember watching my mom go through that of getting a job and not being there while we were getting out of school, and all the things that went on with that, and all the hard choices she had to make as a single mother. You know, all those things that you have to do, and all those struggles that mothers have. And hopefully nobody's had this choice of having to float their baby down a river, but there's hard choices there that a mother has to make, trying to figure out what's best for my child, what will I do next? You know, you think about people that have put their kids up for adoption. That can be such the greatest act of love and the greatest sacrifice you could possibly make. You're like, I think that the best thing for this child is to be raised by a family that's more equipped, that's better able to do that. That's such a powerful thing. You know, there's different sacrifices that mothers make, trying to figure out what's best for my child. The mother is the very first protector of the child. From when the baby's in the womb, taking care of herself and watching out for that baby, to when they're a newborn in her care. The very first protector, watching out for this child's well-being. The other side of the story is the mother raised Moses until he was about 5 years old, and then gave him up for what was best for him, because the only reason he was alive is because the princess said, I'm going to adopt him. Gave him up for adoption. But if you look and you see what happened with that, years later, Moses still had that upbringing and that foundation. He was raised. There's a great movie called The Prince of Egypt. It's an animated movie that talks and just develops that storyline, and it shows him growing up as a prince. He's raised by a princess, and now he's a prince in Egypt and being raised with all that stuff. But he still had that foundation, the way that his mother raised him, the things that he learned just as a little kid was still there, and it came back later. And you look, there's a verse in the Bible, Proverbs 22:6. It says, direct your children onto the right path, and when they're older, they will not leave it. And that's what a mother's role is, so foundational, digging deep, taking care of those first things, those the first foundations, the roots of directing that child, all begin with that mother's guidance, digging deep into that. It's a powerful role. The role of a mother in a family is such a powerful role. And when you have the mother and father coming together with it, it's magic. It's some really cool things that happen. What I want to talk about today is first of all, to the mothers, do you see what a treasure you are? And you know, we're not on Mother's Day, and Mother's Day we'll have a message too, and we'll encourage moms. But in this family series of messages, we're talking about each of these different roles. Mothers, do you see what a treasure you are? I think a lot of times moms just, you kind of feel like, am I even making a difference? Especially, you know, you did the best you could, and then your kids turn teenagers. And you're kind of like, what did I do wrong? Why are they doing? I don't know how many times I heard from my mom, I did not raise you like that. That was a quote I heard many times. I did not raise you like that. And I would say, apparently you did. And then there would be corrective action. So, but some of you mothers, God gave you such a unique and powerful role in your kids' lives. And some mothers here, you're saying to yourselves that you screwed it up. And what I want you to know today, one, is all mothers screw up at some level. You know, we all mess things up. But that doesn't change the great gift that God's given you, nor the great gift that He has made you. And that's what we try to encourage people at the Bridge all the time, is not to live out of your past and what that says about you and the things you screwed up, but to live out of what God says about you. And God says, mothers, you are a great gift with great potential, and there are great things you've done. Yeah, there's some stuff that maybe wasn't right, but there are great things you've done and great things that God's going to continue to do through you. Mothers, I challenge you to embrace who God's made you and to live out of that story. Not the story about things that didn't get right, but to live out of that story that God says about you, that you are a gift, that you are a powerful influencer, that you make a difference, that you are a key component of family. I encourage you to focus on that. And I challenge all of us here to express our gratitude to our moms, whether directly or through prayer. Some of us, our mothers, have gone on. They're in heaven, and you can thank God for them. You can ask God to send them a message, but you can thank God for that, and you can honor your moms that have passed on with some of those stories. It's like, my mom did this. My mom was like this. here's some lessons I learned from my mom. You can honor your mom through that. But I want to encourage you to be grateful for your mom in your life. Some have had bad experiences with a mom, but most have had someone be a mom to them in a time of need. And so that person that's been a mom to you, that's played that role for you, celebrate the mom in your life with positive stories, with encouragement. When we celebrate and encourage mothers in our lives, we give them a strength to keep on, the understanding that they can and that they do make a difference. And as a church, let us be a people that celebrates each of our family's roles. We've talked about the father, we're talking about the mother today, and we're going to talk about some other roles. When we get that right, though, the rest of society will fall into place. You understand the family is the primary unit of our society. And it starts with husband and wife. And it goes from there to mother and father and children. And when we start getting that basic unit right, everything else gets better. When that unit starts falling apart, things get rough. And that's what the government has measured and quantified and started spending money on, saying, dads, you matter, because that's one of the things that's been missing. But as a family makes a difference, and we as a church can encourage that, celebrate that, build that up, we will make a difference in our society, in our community. What I want you guys to know today is mother is the greatest influence on us when we're growing up. And what I want you to do is honor mothers and show them appreciation. It's great. I guess it's Valentine's Day, so it's a great opportunity. Go out there and do something. But honor your moms. Honor those that have played the role of a mother. I've had a lot of people that have acted as a mother to me. I got a great mom, but I have other people that have been a mother figure. Margaret Cullen, she's more than happy to mom me. Sometimes with the hands at the back of the head. And she's been a huge blessing in my life. And there's other women in my life that have been a mom to me. And I would encourage you guys, though, celebrate that today. Build that up. And focus as we go through the series. I challenge you to look at that family unit. Whatever role you have in it, whatever way you can encourage it, if we can build that up, we will change our community. Let me pray for you guys. And Father, we just thank you so much for your word to us. We thank you for speaking to us about the family. And Lord, that this is the beginning of all creation. You set it up as husband and wife, a mother and father that had children, that the beginning of all society, it rests on that. And I pray, Lord, that you will help us to be a church, a community that encourages family, that builds it up, that makes a difference, that we help people gain the tools they need to be the mother and the father and the husband, the wife, the child, the sibling that you want them to be. Lord, help us to live out of what you say about us, not what our past says about us, about the negative things that have happened, but what you say about us. Lord, I pray you help us to know in a very real way that we are your favored child, that you love us, and that you have great plans for us and through us. Lord, I pray you be with us now as we continue to praise and worship you, as we give back to you in trust with our finances, Lord, to support the ministries of the Bridge. I pray that you will guide us in all of this, that you will be with us now. And Lord, you'll be with Doug and the band as they bring us into worship with you. And Lord, I just thank you so much for who you are and your great love for us. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Love you guys.
Love you, Steve.